Let's see, a few highlights. I'll save some engagement and inform, like how to stay informed highlights until the end, but I'll get Mike up here. So Mike French, come on up.
Thank you.
He is our prosperity officer. And we'll let him take it away with the presentation tonight.
Can everybody hear me? Yeah, okay, I'm gonna roam instead of being behind us. So the Prosperity Office actually doesn't exist yet. It's in theory. And the concept was actually created by Jose Madrigal, our city manager. And about July timeframe, he called me up. I had just resigned from the Economic Development Alliance, which I ran for 5 years. And he said, Mike, I have this vision of bringing economic development, housing, and tourism under one roof. Because historically, those have been at odds and they've competed. And there's an opportunity and a nexus between all three of these entities. They should be on the same side of the coin. And I applauded him for that. And I thought, that's a really strong concept. And I think I'd like to be part of that. I may not be your guy, so let me come on as a consultant and create some structure for you and figure out how we get there. So fast forward to November 1st, I agreed to come on full time. So I'm relatively new. That's my excuse. And I'll use that as long as I can. So I'll fill out the new guy card. But in order for the Prosperity Office to happen, we have to take that to City Council and ask for an ordinance. So an ordinance has to be introduced. Then there's a first reading, there's a vote, and then there's a final reading and a vote. And so that will likely have to go into March. So we're already into February now in terms of City Council. So I anticipate that the official office will be in place in March, and then we'll start having moving parts and pieces. I'm going to go into what's happened to date, and I'll actually talk about quite a bit of data, and I'll zoom through this, but I think it's important as we talk about challenges and issues that we're dealing with to talk about facts and data. And as we put together this Prosperity Office, one of the things that I'm committing to is that we use metrics and data and even some intelligence to try to problem solve, because I think that's super, super, super important, and that we are as transparent as possible to our community as to what those data points and metrics look like. So in terms of engagement, one of the things that I ask of you is what data points are really important, and how do you want to hear about data, and how would you consume data that we publish? And data is simply information, and it could be what are the impacts to our constituents, to our citizens? What are the impacts to quality of life? What are the impacts to rent, housing, ownership, et cetera, et cetera? But that's what I'm most interested in, because that gives us an idea of how we communicate and how we inform. So first of all, I want to visit the mission and vision of the city, and I'll tell you why in just a second. But I'll let you read through the vision and mission firsthand. The reason I had you read this is one of the first things I did with the group is I brought together the team from tourism, housing, and economic development, put them all in one room, and I said, if we're going to create a nexus and a collective group, what's the mission of this group? And second of all, how does it align to the vision and mission of the city? Because it has to, right? But it's also extremely focused on what we're trying to do. And this is what I got out of that team. Our mission is to enhance the quality of life of the residents and celebrate a multi-generational community by promoting equitable access to attainable housing, fostering inclusive economic growth, and elevating the city as a vibrant destination. The second question I asked is, how are we going to do this? Like, if we can summarize this and distill it down to the how, we will do this by enabling diverse housing opportunities, building effective partnerships that strengthens local businesses, and celebrate our unique culture to attract visitors and enrich the lives of those who call our city home. I thought this was really strong. We'll continue to refine this and make it better, but this will be our starting point. And I think it's pretty good. Again, love your feedback on this. All right, we're gonna get into data. I know this is a lot of data. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this. There's a couple of takeaways here. This is data through December of 2024, meaning about a month ago. And so it's published literally maybe 2 weeks ago, so it's very fresh. The important number is the year to date, because what we're comparing is all the data through the end of December compared to last year. And the takeaway here is that new listings are up, as we're seeing. Sales are somewhat down. We've seen that decline, and it actually declined quite a bit, and then it sort of came back, but it's soft. It's a soft market. And the reason being is pricing so high. If you look at the sold listings, we're down almost 6% year over year. If you look at the median price of single family, and by the way, this is single family homes, not townhomes, just single family homes, not attached. We're up 20% year over year for our median, and our average is also up close to 20%, 19 and 19.7. So that's the takeaway. Sales down, price up and holding, and double digit into the 20s, so close to 20. The median price for a single family home is $925,000 in Durango proper. It's actually a lot higher North County in Durango Mountain. And I'll talk a little bit about how this translates to La Plata as well as Bayfield. I think the number that's more important is the median, because the average gets skewed when we have a couple of very expensive homes that really change. But the median is pretty spot on of what we're expecting, and that's the number that we should be focusing on. And people will say, well, yeah, that's Durango, but La Plata, it's a different story. You know, if I get outside Durango, there's more affordability, or it's a little bit different, and I would argue that. And here's the data that supports that. Sold listings also a little soft, not as soft as Durango, right? Minus 2.1%. Median price was not up significantly, only about 2%. That's manageable. Pretty much tracking with the cost of living increase and inflation. And the average sales price was actually down almost 4%. But if you look at the numbers, it's still $740,000 in the county. This is the entire county, and $904 on the average for a single family home. All right, let's take it one step further. Let's look at Bayfield. So listings actually up, a lot happening in Bayfield. Applaud all the work that they're doing to bring inventory to market. The median price is up 5%, and the average price is up 6.9. Not huge, but they're also tracking on an upward trend. If you look at the pricing, it's a little more manageable. It went from $490 to $515 of a median single family home. Good data. This is why we're having a challenge, is from 2020 to 2024, we've had an 85% increase in median single family home price.
Whoa, 85?
That's 85%. So that's what we're dealing with, right? And I can guarantee you that our wages have not kept track at an 85% clip. At least mine hasn't, right?
It's staying the same.
All right, some more data. Ownership. In La Plata County, 71% own a home of the residents. In Bayfield, it's 74. In Durango, it's 55. That's why rental is so important in Durango. And in Ignacio, it's 62. I'm going to talk a little bit about rent, and this is La Plata County. I don't have the data for Durango, but in La Plata County, renters that are less than 50% AMI, and AMI is annual median income. For a single person, it's about $68,000 in Durango, actually in La Plata County. So for folks earning half of that individual, for a family of four, it's about $102,000, right? So family of four, closer to $50,000 income, for single person, closer to maybe $34,000, $35,000. We have 2,700 people that are under 50% AMI looking for apartments. Our inventory is 1,752. So we have a gap of approximately 963 units in that price range, right? And it's not the fact that we have a gap in inventory, it's a gap in that specific price range. If that makes any sense. That's another problem that we have to desperately address, is how do we create inventory in that price range? All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about goals of housing. I'll stick with housing for just a minute. There's a needs assessment that's being published in February from the RHA that commissioned a company called Root Policy to come out with a needs assessment. And that's stating, the sneak peek to it is that there's approximately shortage today of 300 units without looking at year-over-year shortages that we're going to anticipate. I actually think it's a little larger because we're going off of data, that's census data from probably 2 years back, right? So a lot has changed in the last 24 months. Proposition 123, that was on the ballot initiative in 2022. It earmarked approximately $300 million from state tax that would be earmarked specifically for housing. It'll go to two things. One is on the inventory side to help communities like ours develop inventory. The other is on the consumer side to help with mortgage assistance. Our Homes Fund, our local mortgage assistance group, just got a state grant for a couple of $1 million to do 42 loans over the next 3 years. And so they're doling that out at approximately $25,000 a piece. They're stacking it with other loan offerings. So for example, the city, both the city and the county participate. Fort Lewis College participates. FERC participates with their specific employees and builds a capital stack of mortgage assistance upwards of $75,000 for first-time homeowners that qualify. So that's a good thing. We have not gotten online for this money because we don't have a shovel-ready project yet, but we're getting there. I'll talk about that in just a second. The city of Durango, you have to opt into the program, and opting in means that you commit to 3% growth of inventory for 3 years in a row. That's a 9% lift for affordable housing to opt into that program. So we opted in, felt pretty confident that we could take on that goal. So that's the #1 goal for us right now. What are we doing about this? And how are we addressing that? Well, we just closed on a piece of property last month. Probably read in the newspaper, Rivergate property that's right in front of Anima Surgical Hospital. We bought a piece of land. There's a land next door to it. We have a right of first refusal on that property. We have the density capability to build 31 units of affordable housing. If we get a right developer, we can exercise our right of first refusal and go up to 70 units of affordable housing there. We'll put out an RFQ in the next month or two and look for developers to partner with us. I want to be really clear, the city is not in the development business, and we will not be. We're in the strategic partner business, so we will look for public-private partnerships to execute and look for private developers to come to the table and help us. We'll heavily incentivize them as much as we can, but a lot of people say that the city should not be competing with private market. We should not be in the development business, and we're not. Right? But somebody's got to step up to the table and help stimulate this. We just closed on one townhome. There was 11 units. This was the last of the 11 units, so we got that finished last month as well. And then this is the big news. The residents of Durango, that project started a couple of years ago. And I'm kind of showing up at the tail end here, but 72 units will come available and take occupancy at the end of February. It's been delayed for about 30 days, but that's the old Best Western on 160 that you guys drive by every now and then. On the heels of that will be 48 units on the back. There's brand new construction of 2 and 3 bedroom units. I got a chance to walk through that. They've done a really good job there. I'm really excited about it. Again, want to be really clear. These are income qualified, 30 to 60% AMI. This is not a shelter. I've heard a lot of rumors of, oh, now we're going to have a new homeless shelter, and this is a Sparrow Part 2, and this is workforce housing, 30 to 60% AMI, income qualified, property management on site, and we are looking to even put childcare or some kind of function on site as community services. So I really applaud the entire staff for all